All right, all right. Good day, everyone. Good day, everybody. Welcome to another session of AWS User Study Group. Yeah, so today we'll be diving into Linux users and groups. Yeah, so today we have our man Kennedy in the house who will be taking us through today's session. Today's session is focused on beginners section on the beginners part. So we have two sections that we do every week. We have the beginner sessions that runs every Wednesday, which we're having today, and we also have the advanced session, which happens every Saturday at 9 p.m. Nigerian time or West African time. Yeah. So you're all welcome. Please, if you're around, please help me see notifications or hi or hello in the chat, and let us know where you are joining us from today. Right. Right, I'm still waiting for guys to join before we dive into today's session. I'll just wait like 2 more minutes for guys to join, then we'll start the session proper. So just while we are waiting, like I mentioned, today Kennedy will be the one taking us through today's session. Kennedy will be talking on Linux user group management. So for those of us who are just joining us for the first time, we have other sessions which has been recorded, which you would see in the channel. You'll see links of them regarding the beginner section. So we are taking us through a beginner's guide, more or less like a beginner's guide into the field of DevOps. So part of things you need to know as a DevOps engineer is you need to know how to operate the Linux environment. So Kennedy will be taking us through a section of it. We'll be starting in the next 1 minute. So buckle your seat, buckle your belts. I'll soon be bringing Kennedy upstage to start to take us through today's session. All right. All right. All right, so we're bringing Kennedy up stage now. Kennedy, are you ready for us today? Kennedy, are you ready? Great.
Yes, I mean, I am.
Great, great. So, floor is yours. I would be going backstage while you take us through what you have for us today. All right. Over to you, Kennedy.
Okay, thank you, Simi. All right, hello guys. So, yeah, my name is Kennedy. I work as a DevOps engineer. So, this evening, um, we'll be looking into one of a very important aspects of Linux management. So, we'll be looking at the topic Linux user and group, how to manage user control, the action that user can take, and all that. So I'm going to get my slide up. Simi, can you help me with that? All right. Okay. Okay, while the slides come up, in the session, we're going to look at two aspects. So the first aspect is going to be a bit of theory, just to discuss about users, how to create users, how to yeah, it's not up from my end. Okay, so how to create users, manage users, and all that. Just 1 minute. Just a minute. I think having a bit of okay. All right, it's fine. So we're going to look at user and group management. Simi, next slide, please. All right, so so in this session, like I said, we're going to have two aspects. First aspect is going to be more of theory, just to understand the concepts that we have under user and group management. So when you're working in a system whereby a number of people are working on the system, you have a number of processes, right, running the system. It's very important to organize the whole stuff, because if everything is not well organized, it means that the system will be prone to a lot of security issues. So user and group management is very important, right? Anytime you're talking about Linux administration. So as a DevOps engineer, you should be able to create users and manipulate users in terms of deciding the kind of activities that a particular user can take care of. So by the end of this section, we have a clear understanding of how to create, modify, manage user accounts and groups. And also we have a better understanding of how to control file permissions using the concept that we're going to learn. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's start with the first concept, that is the concept of users. So basically, in a system, a user is just an entity that interacts with the system. It's like the user just logs into a system and executes various tasks. In this context, a user does not just mean a person, right? It can be a person, it can be a process, okay? Now, every user in a Linux system has, some attributes that are associated with it. For example, every user has a unique ID that can be used to identify the user, and also every user has a unique name, sort of username, right, that can be used to log into the user's directory and perform, the actions that the user has permission to take care of. So I'm going to be the show is not going to take much of our time because this is a hands-on session, but we need to understand the concepts, right, before we get into that part. Can we move on, Simi? Okay, so these are the attributes that a user has. So a user has a username, which I said is unique. A user has a user ID, a UID. I'll show you that when I get into the command line aspect of it during demo time. So the user with ID 0, the ID 0 is a reserved ID for the super user. So what it means is that the super user, that is a root user, has user ID of 0, right? Other users can have other IDs like ID 1, right? So when you create the user, automatically an ID will be assigned to the user. Then the user has a home directory. Let's just take this as let's say you have a system whereby multiple people are working on the system, and let's say you want to segregate or separate, or create different directories that they're going to work with. So every user has a home directory where all the files, right, and settings that the user will work with, where they are saved. Then again, every user has a default shell, right? It can be a bash or sh. All right, let's move on to me. Okay, so yeah, why is user management important? Yeah, it is very important because when you have a lot of people working, working in a system, you need to know who, maybe the last person that logged into a system. You need to, understand or monitor the activity, because imagine something goes wrong within the system. You need to be able to trace to see, the last person that entered that logged into the system. So I'll give you an instance. There was a time I was working on a project that was a remote internship. So in that internship, a lot of project teams happened to be part of the internship, and we are given just a single server to work with. So all the DevOps guys from all the groups, right, we log into the same server and deploy the application for the various groups. So as a matter of fact, because of the load. So sometimes the server will crash. So in order to figure out maybe the last set of activities that happened, we log into the server and then we're able to discover that, oh, this particular person was the last person that entered into the server. And then we're able to, ask some questions and then the individual was able to open up that, he tried to set up NGS and then, messed up some stuff there. So that was how the issue was resolved. So when we use different users, right, it makes, the individual to be accountable for whatever action that they perform in the system. Okay, so now it also enables controlled access to resources based on user privilege, because different users, obviously, we have different privileges, right, or permissions, depending on what the user is the kind of action the user is required to perform, right? Yeah, we'll talk about that better on later. Then environment security is very important, because when you have different users in a way you have organized the system, right, it makes the system to be a bit more secure than when everything is just disorganized and organized. Then it enables the ease of resource sharing. So authorized users can log into the system and share files, right? And share files from one user home directory to another user home directory and others. Can we move ahead? Okay. So let's. So these are some of the commands that we're going to explore later on, right? So I just have to put all of them here. For you to manage users, you should know how to create a user, right? You should know how to maybe delete a user. Let's say someone that is no longer working, right, in the system. Just to clean up the system, you have to delete the user. So the first command is user add. So user add to add a new user in the into the system. We use the add user. So user add and add user, both of them perform the same. They perform the same function, but the user add, in a way, aside creating a new user, it creates the home directory for the user and all the files, like the scripts needed to kind of open up the command line, the bash script and all the rest. Then add user does the same thing, but add user just adds the user, right? So you need to go and create all these home directory files yourself. Then user del is used to delete user. Then password is used to set the password or even update the password of the user. Then if you want to log into a user, reading through this, right, may not make much sense for now. When we get into the demo part, we'll spend time to explore all this better. So Simi, let's move on. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to look into is about groups. So when you have a number of users that are performing the same task or related task, right, they can be put into a group. Let's say, for example, in a project where you have front-end developers, right, you have a number of front-end developers, you have a number of back-end developers, you have a number of people working in a particular segment of the project. So to get the whole system a bit organized, sort of creating users, after creating all the users, right, sort of just capturing the users, here and there, it's very important to organize the whole stuff by putting users in a particular group. Now, why this is important is because of the fact that, remember what I said, users can have different permissions. Now, all the users that are under the front end, obviously, we end up having similar, let's say, they need similar permissions. So imagine, giving individual permission to all these users. It will make the whole stuff to be complex. So to make it very easy, you can use a group, right? Put all the users within the particular group, and then grant the permission to the group. So what it means that every user within that group will share that particular permission. So that way, everything will be a bit streamlined and simplified. So, let's move on. So now, the next thing, obviously, the same way groups, users have attributes, right? Groups also have attributes. So we use these attributes to identify groups. Like the group name is a unique name. Like no two different groups, can have the same name, right? So then every group has an ID, right? A group ID. Then the group members are the users that are assigned to the particular group. Then you have ownership. So ownership is just the files and directories, right, that are assigned to a particular group. That means it is only that group that have access to the file. All right. So next we look at some of the commands. Simi, let's go ahead. Okay, so these are some of the commands we're going to explore during the demo part, like creating a new group, deleting a group, modifying group attributes, and adding a user to a group. So these are important commands that are going to work with, right? They're going to be very handy when you are trying to manage groups. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so now, yeah, so that is the very important aspect of this, permissions. Now, remember, the reason why it's important for us, to understand the concept of user and group, it's not just about user and group, right? But we need to be able to make the system to be secured, right? And that is where permissions, come in. So we use permissions to to decide the necessary actions that a user can perform in a system. There are two important keywords here. The first one is authentication. Now, if the user logs into his, her, or his account, right? The user will need to be authorized to perform certain actions, right? So, for example, if a user doesn't have the permission to read a file, that means the user cannot be able to read a file. If the user doesn't have permission to execute files, the user cannot be able to do that. So permission, very important, because this is actually at the heart of security in the Linux system. So now every file and directory is associated with an owner. Okay, so a file has an owner. So there are three things: the owner of the file, the group of the owner, and the other users. So every file you have in the Linux system has an owner. That is conventionally, that is how it works. But we're going to look at another way to extend it, whereby multiple owners will be mapped with a particular file. So if you want to change the owner of a file, this is how you do it, using the change owner command. So you have you put the owner, that's what it is. Change owner, the group of the owner, and the file directory, like you want to change the ownership. So let's move ahead, please. Okay, very important. We need to understand how to control permissions. Like I said, there are three levels of permissions that, common levels of permission that we have: the read permission, right? The write permission and the execute permission. So I know a number of us must have tried using something like chmod plus X. Then when you're trying to run a bash script, chmod 400 and all that. So it's very important we understand the figures that we use in the ch mode, right? Because it is very important, so I will not be using those figures anyhow, right? So now there are three key stuff that we're going to discuss about here: the read, the write, and the execute. So the read is assigned a numerical value of 4, right? Write is assigned numerical value of 2. Then execute has 1. So now you can combine these three levels of permission, right? To get a combination of the permission. For example, if you want to get a permission for reading and writing, it has to be a combination of 4 and 2, and that will give 6, right? So if you want the combination of all of them, read, write, and execute, you're going to add 4, 2, and 1. That will give you 7. So when you use chmod 400, it means that you are just granting only a read permission, right, to the owner of that file. The owner. Remember what I said? Every file has an owner. All right. So if you use chmod 700, it means that you are actually giving the owner of the file, the owner assigned to that file, you are giving the owner all the three levels of permission. That is, the owner can be able to read that file. Remember what I said? A user can either be a person, can also be a process. Now, if it's a person, it can be controlled. That if it's a process, and the process has all this, right? It means that the process can be able to do these three things. The process can be able to read the file, can be able to edit the file. Obviously, it's not every file that we want to be a user to be able to edit, because there are some files that once you edit them, the whole system will crash. Like, it will take a lot of work to bring the system up again, right? Okay, so so that is that. Yeah, I know I'm a bit fast because of the fact that I want us to spend great time looking at the demo. But if you have any question, right, at any point, please just put it in the chat. We're going to take care of the questions towards the end of the presentation. All right, Simi, let's go ahead. Okay, so this is how you can change permission, like the chmod, the popular chmod that we make use of. So use chmod permission setting. So permission setting is just it's always 3 digits, right? So those 3 digits, the first digit represents the permission of the file owner. The second digit represents the permission of the owner's group. That's the group that the owner belongs to. While the third digit, right, represents the permission of the other users. So there are 3 things here: the owner of the file, the group of the file, right, and the other users. So now, if you have chmod 754, that 7 there represents the permission setting for the file owner. So remember what I said about the combination. So if you take to get that 7, you have to combine all of them. So 7 means all the permissions are obtainable. So can read, the owner can read, um, write, and execute. The second digit there, 5, represents read and execute. So it means that the group that the owner belongs to, can read and execute, or cannot be able to write. Right? Okay. Can be able to edit the file. Then other users have a permission level of setting of 4, which presents just a read. That means the other users can only read, right? They can't be able to execute the file, and they cannot be able to write, or edit the file. So that is that. So as a, what if I want a particular group of users to have RWS to a particular file? Yeah, sure. You can also do that. You can also do that. You can say that. That's why you have file or directory. Sorry. What is a particular group or user? I want a particular user to have RWS to a particular file. Yeah, you set it. There is we have ACL. We're going to talk about that, access control list.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, it seems Kennedy is having a bit of network issue. Yeah, hello. Uh, let's just give him a couple of minutes. He should be back up online. Yeah, while we are still waiting for Kennedy to join back the chat, seems he's having a bit of network issues. It seems he's having a bit of network issue, so we'll just be talking or paraphrasing us to what the things he has mentioned so far. So he mentioned that for Linux based system, for Linux systems, we have what we call users and groups. We have commands that you need to familiarize yourself with when you are creating groups, when you're creating users. So these are the at least the basic commands that are required. You use the user add users more, just like the same way you have it on your Windows, where you can add users via the GUI. So it's expected as for system administrators or DevOps engineers to know these commands. It's expected for you to know these basics command to uh, in order to for you to work more effectively and more efficiently. Right. So also he did also mention that we have in terms of groups, that groups is so just like the name, a group is a collection of users. So you can have your user grouped together to perform a particular task or give them particular access some um, to some files. So he also mentioned that we have another thing we mentioned also regarding the group attribute. So for every just same way with for every user attribute, we have user IDs. We also have group IDs also. So the group IDs are the very identifiers that is assigned to a group during creation. Uh, yeah. So another thing we also mentioned is regarding the commands that you need to add users, to create users to a group. So someone asked a question regarding file path. If you have to create grant a user access to a file. Okay, yeah, Kennedy is back. So I will give you backstage to continue from where it stopped.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Um, just had a little issue with my network. Okay. So I guess we have exhausted this, right, Asimi? Let's move to the next, please. Okay. Yeah. I think I've also exhausted this. All right. Thank you. Okay. So another aspect that is very important is the pseudo and privilege escalation. So obviously, it's very important for us to understand that you know there's a particular user that is called the root user that has privilege to do everything, right? Can be able to perform you know actions with the privilege of other users and more. There's more to that. So basically, create when you create a server like this, right, you will not like to expose it to or expose the processes uh, to the root user, like having the root user privileges, because that can cause more harm than good. So basically, you can create a user right? And then add the user to a sudo, make a user a sudo. So sudoers, happen to be users that can be able to um, perform, you know, perform actions with high level of privilege, right? So, but you have to be very careful the way you use the pseudo privilege. Make sure you grant the privilege to a user or process that actually needs it. So, yeah, because it can be a level of can be a form of attack surface, like if it gets into the wrong hands, right? It means that the user can be able to do anything. So if you want to add a user or a group to a sudoers list, so you just do that by updating the sudoers as file that is in the etc directory. So that is just this is how you do it. So just update the file with the username and these four us. So the four us, the first one represents the host IP. So the all there means that it suggests that uh, it's going to this particular user can perform the pseudo action, right? Can perform the privilege action, right? For all IP, like host IP, like then the second or that we have there points to the user. Like, yeah, remember when you have a pseudo privilege, you can perform actions with the privilege of other users. So that means can perform privilege of all the other users, right? Then the the third all points to the group, so all the groups. Now the last all represents commands, so like all commands. So here I just saying uh, that this particular user will have the privilege to do this perform actions, you know, for all host IP, all user, all groups, and all commands. So that is that. So if you want to add a group um, name, if you want to add a group, just add percentage in front of the name. Because if you don't add any percentage, if you don't add this percentage character here, it's going to interpret it as a user. So that is that. So let's move on, please. So then the last aspect of what we have under this is a access control list. So remember what I said about user having being the owner of a particular file, right? So that in a way that's how it works, like conventionally. But the access control list in a way helps to extend that basic permission model. So like this control list can allow us to define a list of users and their permissions for a file. So with the access control list, you can have a number of users, right, owning a particular file or directory. So this is how you populate the ACL by using the command set file ACL. The dash M there represent modify. Then you have the username and the permission. So in this case, you are not using numbers for the permission. You are using the actual permission notation, like use R for read, use X for execute, and then use W for write. So if the permission that I want to grant this user is read and execute, we use ROS. So if it is all of them, use RWS and then define name. So you can also set ACL for directory. It's just the same command, but you just have to add D in front of the use to show that you are doing that for a directory. If you want to view all the ACLs, use get file ACL, then the name of the file. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's demo time, right? All right. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see. See, I can do that while the slide is still all right. See me, is it possible? Okay, let me try. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. I need to confirm that you can see my screen. Me? Is my screen visible? Anybody can respond. Okay, I think. Simi, can you stop the slide so I can share my screen because it's actually up from my end. Okay. How about now? Can you see my screen? Just a confirmation. Wow. So what is happening now? Last few minutes, guys. Um. Okay, I guess it's up now, right? Okay, fine. So so we're going to walk through the demo aspect of this. So we're going to do that by I've already created um okay, let's just do this. So we're going to create a user for this demo to understand how this stuff works. So if I want to create a user, I use the command. Now remember, for you to be able to create a user, you must have the privilege to do that. So if I do, let me check. If I do add user, let's say Kennedy. If I do this and run this, I actually expect it to fail because of the fact that it's only the root, right, that can be able to add a user or a group to a system, right? So when you create an instance like this, okay, the very first user that will be created by default, okay, will be automatically added to the sudoers list. So that means the Ubuntu user, okay, is in the sudoers list. So it has sudoers permission. If I run this again using sudo add user, I put KDB. So when I run this, now, like I explained when I was discussing this, there are two ways to add user. You can use add user or use user add, right? The add user doesn't work for all the flavors of Linux, so you have to take note of that. So all those Debian flavors, like I'm using Ubuntu, right? So if you use it in some flavors, it may not be able to work. Okay, yeah, that's why we have user add. Now, but the add user, when you create the add user, it if you look at this now, apart from adding the user, like it added the user, added the um, adding a new group, created a group for the user with the same username, right? Then and added the user to the group, then created a home directory for the user, and then copied all the files, right, needed to run this particular user, okay, to this home directory. So we need to set a password. Set a password to request for you to retype it. Okay, so and then a lot of interactions when you use the add user. Okay, to ask you for your full name, ask for some stuff. I've just fill them, but I'm not filling them right. Just like you're filling a form and all that. Then once you're done, the user right is created. So if you let's try and list the directories we have in that home. Um, so if you list the directory, you see that there is a user directory. So inside of this user directory, if you cd into it,
Yeah, yeah. Kennedy,
okay,
hello. Yeah, sorry to cut you short. Yeah, your screen is a bit blurry and the text are small. Is there a
oh
way you could increase the text font so we could see?
yeah,
And
yeah,
also, we need to
yeah,
speed up because we are almost running out of time.
yeah, sure. Okay, let me do that. Okay, how about now?
Better,
Okay,
better.
awesome. Okay, so fine. So that is that. So that's how you create. That's how you create a user. Okay. So let me clear this. So now we have a user Kennedy. So we can add, can create multiple users, and all that. So that is that. Now want to create if you want to create uh, okay, let's say I want to log into the user that I created. So I'll use the command su right dash with the name of the user. So I created user Kennedy. So this command is used to log into the user. So if you enter, it's a request for the password that you created for this particular user. So just enter the password, and then you know you see the user has changed. Initially it was Ubuntu, so I'm now inside of Kennedy as a user. Okay, so inside of Kennedy there is no, I don't have anything actually, right? So let's see. Um, okay, so that is that. So now let's create a file and then talk about the permission because that is very important to us. Um, okay, so I'll create a file. Um, test.txt. Um, yes. I'm more of used to working with the Vim editor. So I'll just add something to this guy. right. So so I have a file. Now, if I list um what I have in this directory, I have just a file. So if you look at this file now, when I did ls, it just brought out the file. Okay, so if I want to see the permission that this file has, right? If I do ls dash a and then the name of the file. Sorry, I just ls dash a. So if I do this brought out all the files. Yeah, because these guys were created. Immediately I created Kennedy user. So you have this. So they don't make them to be invisible, right? So if I want to see the permissions, I'll add L, right? Yeah, to bring everything out. So if you look at this, you see all the levels of the permission levels that we have here. So we just play around this, change permissions, and so that you understand what we're talking about. So if you look at this, the first letter here is D, right? So that suggests that this is the directory. So obviously that is Kennedy. Then you have another directory root. Then the one that has, if you start with a dash, it means that it's a file. So this is a file, right? Likewise others. So now, in terms of permission, if you look at this, you see that we have, if you check this stuff, we have 9 of them, right? So this is the first 3, like I explained, represents the owner's permission. The next 3 represents the group permission, and then the last 3 represents the other user's permission. So what this means is that the owner can be able to read and write. Okay. Then what this means is that the group that this owner belongs to, because this owner belongs to Kennedy Group. Remember, this is the name of the owner. Why this is the name of the group, right? So and this is the user ID. So now look at this. This suggests that the group, all the users in this particular group can be able to, in the Kennedy's group, can only be able to read. They cannot write and they cannot execute. Then every other user can be able to just read. So that means this guy is going to be read write. That is 4 against 2. That is 6. So you're going to have this. The permission level of this is 6. The permission level of this is 4. Permission level of this is 4. So we have 6, 4, 4. So that is just what it is. So now let's say I want to, the one I created has permission of read write for the owner. Same read and write for the group, and then any other user can just read. So if I want to, change the permission of this guy, let's say I do ch mode. Let's see what will happen. If I do ch mode 400, for example, I do test.txt. So this, let me check this again. So if I check this again, you notice that the permission has changed. Initially, this was the permission level that we have. But if you look at this now, we have just read. Why do you have only read? You have only read because from what we did here, right? 4 represents just a read, okay, permission, and then there is no permission for the group. There is no permission for the other users. So that is why you have dash dash, and dash dash for this. So that is what it is. Okay, so now that is about permission. Now, if I want to let's say if I want to perform an action that involves sudo, right? Under this, okay, let me get app get update. If I run this now, if I run app get update, you will see that it didn't work out, right? Because there are some facts.
Hello, Kennedy.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry to cut you short. There is a couple of questions, and also to mention that our time is up. Probably might just need to speed up to round up in the next 3 to 4 minutes. So I'll just bring the question to the screen now. There was a question I saw. Someone was asking this. Question is showing in the chat that
okay.
was
Who
who exactly.
exactly are the others? Yeah, sure. So when you say others, in this case, now others refer to other users, right? Remember, there are multiple users in the system. Okay, so and the file belongs to a particular user based on how the assignment happens conventionally. Unless you add to the ACL, that's when you have multiple owners. Like, but for now, we have just a single owner for a file. So the other users, right, are the others. Remember what I say: users can be a person, user can be people, users can be processes. So I think I can be able to round up in 2 minutes. Yeah. So just I'm picking some of the commands, not all of them. Okay. All right, so fine. Now, if you look at this cannot be able to run because of these files, right? Based on permission setting. So if I also try to use sudo, if I use sudo apt-get, if I use sudo apt-get update. Now it asks for the passwords. I'll put the password. Now, if you look at this, it didn't run because Kennedy as a user is not in the sudo file. So that means the incident will be reported. That means I can't be able to do it. So let me quickly add Kennedy to the so I can't be able to do that from here because for you to be able to add to the sudo list, you have to do that from a user that already has a sudo permission or the root user. So let me quickly do this so that we can round up in a minute time. So if I do sudo vi sudo, so this command can be used to update the sudo file. So this is a sudo file. Now remember, this file is a very important file, so we don't just update it anyhow. So these are the users that are in the sudo list. So what I'll do, I'll just duplicate this guy, right, and add this guy here. So remember, I've already explained what they represent. So I'm adding Kennedy to the sudo list. That's all. So I'll save this guy and exit. So Kennedy is now in the sudo list. So let me try this again and see what will happen. Okay, so fine. So you can see I cannot be able to run this because Kennedy in the sudo list. So use the sudo list to control those that have sudo privileges. And remember, it's not every user that should be given that kind of an opportunity, because when you have the sudo privilege, you can be able to do anything. So I'm going to stop at this point because of time. Sorry about the break in transmission. I guess that was what that caused a bit of delay. So we're going to stop at this point. If you have any question, you can drop it. We address it. So, Simi, is there any question on because I cannot see any question from my end. Simi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just want to
Yeah.
confirm.
Okay.
There's no more question. That's just the last question I could see.
Okay. So that is fine. If the slide can be shared, if the slide can be shared with the group so that they can try out the commands that we have in the slide, that would be very helpful.
Yes, so we share the slide also in
Mm-hmm.
the chat section, so you can pick that out.
All right. So thank you. You can continue from where I stopped, Simi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kennedy, for a wonderful session, and thank you for everyone that joined. It's really it has really been an interesting and insightful one. Kennedy, thank you, and also thank you for the feedback. So please, if you have further feedbacks that you would like to give us or not like to us to, and ways we can improve, please do share them in the feedback form that is shared in the chat section. And also the link to the slide which Kennedy used has also been shared in the chat section. Till when we come your way again. So we just to mention, we are a subset of the AWS West Africa user group. So this is AWS DevOps study group, and we have our sessions by Wednesdays and uh, Saturdays respectively. Wednesdays is by 8 p.m. Nigerian time or West African time, and also by Saturday by 9 p.m. respectively. So thank you, and to have a wonderful day. Bye.